welcome back to Beyond the Veil Tarot and Astrology. My name is Candice Marie. Thanks for joining me. Welcome back. This is going to be the weekly astro weather. If you're new to my channel, do me a favor, click the subscription button below. That way you are alerted as to when we have new videos coming out on the channel. We've got new videos coming out probably about 4 times a week nowadays, so be sure to make sure that you're subscribed so you are being able to see those and you're up to date with what's going on in the stars. Those of you guys who are already members and subscribers, thanks for the support. We've seen so much growth in the channel. Big thank you to everyone. You've been a big reason why we have seen so many more people who are just coming through, watching the videos, leaving comments. So do make sure that you are sharing. Sharing is caring. It helps get this stuff into the algorithm for YouTube. Guys, the last week's been a doozy, huh? These mutable squares have not been easy. It has been like meltdown city. And a lot of it is just because things are changing. You know, we've talked a little bit about how the transits going through Virgo were going to oppose Neptune. We were going to feel separate, almost like alienated in a way, more so emotional than usual. We've been getting all the ricochet that's been coming from Mars and moon transits that have been going through Gemini. So things do calm down a little bit. It's going to get a little bit easier this week. And we have some more pleasant transits that are going to be taking place. But keep in mind, okay, we are a month out from eclipses. So that is part of why we are feeling what we're feeling. We've got one more new moon that's going to be taking place in Libra before we have the solar eclipse at the end of October, which will be in Scorpio. So highlights for the week of September 18th through the 25th is Sun enters Libra. It will be the beginning of the fall equinox here in the Northern Hemisphere. I'm going to talk a little bit about that chart today. We're also going to talk about the trines that we're going to be seeing all week long from Venus. Venus is making quite a few aspects to Pluto, to Uranus. So there's lots of Venus energy that's in the skies that's changing and transforming and kind of upending relationship patterns, health habits, where we're working, how we're working, and helping us rework our health, because that's what Virgo really wants to do. We're also going to be seeing more Mercury retrograde goodies. We've got another Mercury-Jupiter opposition this week, so you guys are going to see like the sprinkles that are going to be taking place as a result of that. If you guys have seen my Mercury retrograde video, I talked about how Mercury in its retrograde would make oppositions to Jupiter 3 times. So this is the second time we're going to see that this week. So we're still uncovering things, learning new things, taking new advice from other people. It's still Virgo season, but we've got a lot of energy that's moving into Libra. So what we're going to be finding is as planets are transitioning into Libra, as we're coming into the equinox, it's time to balance ourselves out with others. And that's really what the equinoxes are about, right? It's about finding that, that balance of the light and the dark. So I'm going to take you guys through the week, and I'll probably spend a little bit more time on that sun moving into Libra because of the equinox, but also because some other transits that are going on that day. So let's go ahead and get started with the 18th of the month. We are going to start first with Mercury coming back into the opposition with Jupiter. Now, I promised you guys I'm doing another Jupiter video. That's the next video that I'm going to be doing on the channel this week. I just want to make time to make sure that it's very thorough and that it's kind of well thought out, so it's different than the other Jupiter video. But Mercury the messenger is retrograde and is in opposition for the second time to Jupiter retrograde in Aries. Tons of planets are retrograde right now, you guys. I want you to keep in the back of your mind that very unusual to have so many planets retrograde. Yes, we are going to be seeing Mercury going direct in early October on the 2nd. We're also going to see right around the time of the eclipses that are taking place the second half of October, planets all start going direct. So once we're getting into eclipse energy, it's like almost like things lock into place. And those outer planets, when they're stationing and when they go direct, there's like big world events that seem to kind of transpire, or things kind of get cemented in and it's going to be more visible. So a lot of the changes that are happening are on kind of like behind the scenes or on an internal level. We might feel a little bit wonky, but I'm a fan of Mercury's opposition to Jupiter. I think that this gives us an opportunity to get a little bit of good news. We may have to look harder for it. We might have to notice the synchronicities. maybe it's just me, like I'm a little bit more observant of those things. Like, you know, my birthday's on 11/11, so I've always seen 11/11, but in recent years, I've been seeing it more often, or I'll see like the 1 2 3 4 or the 3 3 3 4 4 4. So if you're somebody who notices those synchronicities in license plates, I say it because Mercury's vehicles, synchronicities in phrases and conversations that you're having with people, where the same kind of advice is coming up, or you're noticing the same comments, or you're seeing the same numbers, like these are the synchronicities you want to be looking for, I think, in the both in the the Mercury opposed Jupiter, but also in the Sun Mercury cazimi. So lots of cosmic synchronicities taking place all week long. It was like the other day that I made the comment to somebody, I was like, well, you know, things are changing, like times are changing. And I heard it like 5 other times that same day, like randomly, like on a commercial. And then somebody sent me a meme that said that. And I was like, okay, that's the phrase that pays this week, is the times they are changing. So those are the kind of synchronicities that you guys want to look for. Jupiter is also about expansion, and it's about travel and information and our philosophies and our belief. And so part of like Mercury being in opposition to Jupiter, just in general, regardless of the retrogrades, is where we're learning a lot about ourselves and how we are socially interacting with other people, and learning how to find balance if we have different philosophies, different belief systems. It can be literally like religion. It could also be different perspectives on, you know, how relationships should go, what is and is not fair, balance, equality, right? So we're going to notice a lot of difference of opinions whenever we see these oppositions. And oppositions are always when we have a planet that is 180 degrees in the kind of parallel, you know, position. So it's a relationship aspect. It does take 2 to tango. So it is talking about sometimes uncomfortable conversations that we need to have with other people about kind of finding the balance. So you can find yourself like trying to talk to somebody about a philosophy and somebody's like, yeah, I don't believe in that, you know, and it can be some like awkward conversations and just a lot of like, okay, cool, like, you know, you do you, I'll do me. There's a need to not take things personally, and also not be responding to people who are acting out and being arrogant or being kind of like a know-it-all. There can be like a lot of just arrogance kind of in the air in the next week when it comes to talking to people. And at a 4, we might experience this more with like our family members. We might experience this more with like our roommates or our family, people we're living with. It can also be laws and regulations that are changing and up for reevaluation in your local, you know, community or in your home country. So we're going to hear more about this in Libra season. Same day, we have the Sun in Virgo coming into a trine with Pluto. I'm a fan of Earth trines. Physical shift happens when we see these trines and other aspects in the Earth, the element of Earth or in the Earth signs. Sun is about the glory plan. It's our destiny. It's where we're going, what we're shining a light on. So while the Sun is in Virgo, we're shining a light on what is healthy, what needs to be fixed, what needs to be critiqued, what needs to be better organized. And we're actively kind of asking ourselves these questions while Mercury is retrograde back into Virgo. As the Sun trines Pluto in Capricorn, it's all about finding the strength, I think, and the willingness to overcome certain challenges, to roll up our sleeves, get the job done. It's a great day for like physically cleaning things, detoxing, purging, getting to the bottom of, you know, a work problem. It can be really great for finding solutions. Like I love both the 18th and the 19th for this. So if you're like wanting to have a strategy meeting with people, it can be a wonderful day to do that, because still kind of feeling the trine from the Sun to Uranus. And I like the Mercury-Jupiter opposition is like being able to get feedback and maybe people seeing blind spots that we may not be aware of. I'm anticipating also that it could be, especially in the like mid-afternoon hours on the West Coast, you're going to notice just a little bit of tension because the moon is going to be in Cancer. And the moon's happy in Cancer. That's the planet that rules that sign, very sensitive, emotional, but Cancer is reactionary and it's protective, right? So we can be kind of moody when the moon is in Cancer. As Jupiter and the moon square, we're going to see big feelings and big emotions and people reacting emotionally to where we're kind of taking matters into our own hands and we're taking the initiative. And then we're also going to see the moon that's going to be in a square to Mercury, where it's harder to communicate and express our feelings. This is a cardinal T-square, okay? And whenever we see cardinal T-squares, we see lots of action and reaction. So look at where Cancer is in your life. Know that there may be an event taking place on Sunday that involves home, family, domestic stuff, women, mothers, that is going to trigger some kind of like, you know, some kind of debate. That's kind of the feeling that I'm getting. And it's a lot about what do individuals want? How are we protecting our needs? How are we learning how to communicate our feelings and staying open to having that dialogue with other people and like learning that sometimes relationships require, you know, doing a lot of work. They require maintenance, you know? Then we're gonna move to the 19th, and that is gonna be on Monday. And on Monday, we're going to see that Venus is now at 18 degrees. You guys remember that degree fondly, right? Because that was the same degree that Mars and the North Node and Uranus all conjunct at the end of July, beginning of August of 2022. So as this planet moves to 18 degrees, it's going to start to form a trine with Uranus. Trine's harmonious, free-flowing energy. Venus trine the North Node this last week has been about really fateful things going on with our physical bodies, our money, our resources, cleaning things up and perfecting and critiquing things so we can feel better, happier, healthier. Now we've got Venus that's moving into the trine with Uranus. So usually Venus-Uranus aspects are uncomfortable. Like if we see it in the conjunction or the opposition or the square, it's a difference of opinions. You know, we can see relationship clash, breakups, separations, things that are going on like that. And I think that if there are people going through relationship changes right now, you know, friend breakups, maybe you're breaking up with your boss, maybe you're breaking up with, you know, one of your healthcare, you know, professionals, maybe you're going through like an actual, you know, romantic relationship separation. Venus behind the sun and Mercury going retrograde into the 6th house, I think is really kind of saying like, how do we navigate changes in relationships but not completely fall off, right? So like, how do we learn how to respond and adjust to change in our relationships differently without completely self-sabotaging? If you are one of those people that's like, you'll go on a bender for a whole week and you'll eat the ice cream or you'll drink or you'll oversleep, you know, it's like, how do we do that in a way where we're not totally going to fall off and lose ourselves? And we're more conscientious and aware of how important it is to go through change in relationships or what we're eating or go through change in our daily routine that's not going to be that's not going to blow up, basically. And there is some risk of this because we've seen recently that Venus has been in a square to Mars. So there is like this mental battling with like, do I say it? Do I not say it? Do I do it? Do I not do it? And we're kind of fighting back and forth. What the trine is going to offer us on the 19th is, I think, easing into change and making those difficult changes in our schedule, in our relationships, in our day-to-day life that is really trying to provide more comfort, more security, more stability long-term. Like, you got to be gentle with yourselves right now, okay? It is important to make sure that you're doing all the Venus and Virgo things. You're really taking time to like clean your space, to make your bed, put your things away. It's like how we can add a little bit more love and TLC into our daily routines and find ways to be more gentle and also like really support our nervous system in the midst of all of these kind of changes that are going on. Like, this trine reminds me of, you know, if you're making somebody a lunch, like put a note in it, you know, put an inspirational quote or like write something sweet and send that. So that way, you know, as they're consuming whatever they're eating, they know that it's packed with love. But it's also about, you know, maybe going and making changes in your daily routine. And like the 6th house could be gyms, right? So it's like going to a gym and getting a lot of like positive support from other people and other people who are encouraging you to kind of like stay at it. It could also be that, you know, you go and you're talking to a hairstylist and you're getting a lot of really good advice about your love life. There's just going to be lots of support, and it's going to come in very practical ways this week. Venus, when it's in a trine to Uranus, especially when it's behind the sun, can also say that there is like this natural ease and letting go, that women are taking a step back. And we'll see Venus coming into the opposition with Neptune in the next week or two also. And that can be a time where we consciously go, you know what, I'm taking the day off. Or instead of sitting in front of the TV all day on a weekend, like I'm going to go to the beach, or I'm going to spend the day at the spa, or I'm going to go and do something to really take care of my physical body and really kind of nourish myself, and also like comfort the soul. Like there's a lot of like needing to comfort the soul this week with some of these transits. We can see positive, like lucky streaks that can happen. Like a Venus trine Uranus can be like, oh, I found, you know, $20 in the parking lot, you know, walking on my way into work. Or I unexpectedly, you know, got a bonus, or I got a refund and I didn't see that coming from anywhere. Or, you know, somebody offered to buy me lunch. These kind of things can happen with Venus trine Uranus as well. This is at an 18 degrees. So like I said, it's trining that conjunction point that we had earlier in the summer. And 18 does deal with health, okay? It deals with health, it deals with employees, it deals with pets, any like the Virgo kind of themes. So it's interesting that it's at a Virgo degree and it's in the sign of Virgo. So I'm wondering if there's gonna be some news coming out, some data, things in regards to information about people's health. All right, so then we move, one other thing about the 19th is that the moon will still be in Cancer. It is going to be coming into a square with Chiron. So the moon is about what's going on collectively, and the fact that it's squaring Chiron is it is bringing up, you know, our need to tend to emotional wounds. And that's coming from since the moon was in Aries. So maybe just coming off of that full moon in Pisces, we've had some wounds, and it's like, how do we tend to those wounds, you know? Cancer can be needing a hug, you know, shedding a tear, anything like that. And thankfully, even in spite of that square to Chiron, it is forming sextiles with Venus as well as the sun. So it's helping us get the emotional support we need to kind of make some of the changes that are taking place this week. We move to the 20th, and on the 20th, early in the day, really the only major aspect that's going to be taking place is we're going to see, let me change this, earlier in the day. I'm on West Coast time, but you know, the 7 to 11 a.m. period, you're going to see the moon that's in opposition to Pluto. So moon opposed Pluto is going to bring up some emotional tension, especially being at the last degrees. So look for, you know, feeling emotionally threatened, you know, responding to changes in terms of our work or our home dynamic. In spite of that, it is going to be in the evening, so it'll be probably the night before on the 19th. The moon will be trining the south node, and it'll also be in a trine to Neptune. All the more reason to just be really processing, showing up, being aware of your emotions, staying hydrated, anything that you need to do to be able to clear some of that stuff up. Then we move to the 21st, and early in the morning, it'll be very early, so some of us will be waking up to it. We won't really get to experience it, but the moon will be in a trine with Jupiter. And we might be feeling a little bit more positive and optimistic in the morning. You know, we go to bed with that moon opposed Pluto and things feel kind of gnarly. And then we wake up on Wednesday, the moon's in a fire sign. It's in a trine with Jupiter. We're feeling a little bit more optimistic. The early morning period is decent. It's not too bad. We're also going to see later in the evening of the 21st, if we watch, the moon's going to go further into Leo. And around 6 p.m. Pacific time, the moon starts coming into a square with Uranus. So we know that whenever the moon goes through the fixed signs, it's going to make aspects to Saturn and Uranus and the north or south node. So this will be a grand fixed cross. We're going to have the evening of the 21st. Moon will first square her own nodes, which means a need to kind of be aware of something that's going on emotionally. Moon in Leo is dramatic, it's romantic, it's fun. We might feel like we need to like break free. Kind of funky because this is technically a balsamic moon. So this is when the moon comes into the sign right before a new moon. So usually we're a little cranky here. So I could imagine, you know, people being a little sensitive to change, a little emotionally reactionary on the evening of the 21st. So when the moon squares the nodes, feeling moody, there's a need to just kind of acknowledge like what's going on collectively. Then we'll see the moon come into a square with Uranus, not adapting well to change. Then we will see the moon make an opposition to Saturn, which is feeling that separation, right? Moon can be mothers, home, our children, anything in regards to creativity, happiness, warmth, kind of a rocky evening on the 21st. This is also the very last day of the sun being in Virgo. So it's right before we go into the Libra mansion the very next day. Just, you know, be mindful. Most of the gnarly events are going to be taking place for the most part if in the evening. So some of us will be asleep, but if you've got any plans on Wednesday, just know that there is a likelihood with the moon square, the nodes, and Uranus opposed Saturn, things may not go as planned, you know, and people are going to be a little grouchy. So, all right. Now we move to the 22nd. And this will be technically the very last day of Libra season. And early, let's see, so technically the equinox won't be until 6 p.m., but we've got a couple things that are happening here. So the moon moves into Leo. We're still early in the morning feeling that opposition between the moon and Saturn, so we still might wake up in a little bit of a mood. We've also got the Sun-Mercury cazimi that is setting up. It looks like it will be later in the evening that the moon will then drop into Virgo. But before that happens, I want to talk about this cazimi here. So Mercury retrograding back from Libra into Virgo. The cazimi is when Mercury is just in front of the sun, and it needs to be within about a minute or so. You know, everybody's got their own perspective, but it's got to be about within a degree. Basically, it's like Mercury's bringing some kind of information back to the sun. So some information is getting ready to be revealed. These are the days that we see synchronicities. These are the days that we have like really kind of serendipitous conversations. We meet people, especially in Libra. There can be a sense of meeting people. This can be about some kind of information, Mercury, coming out of the blue unexpectedly because there's a mutual reception going on between Venus and Mercury. Mercury's in a Venus sign, Venus is in a Mercury sign. That there's some information getting ready to be released about a woman, about health, and about relationships. Now we know that, like, you know, as Venus has been going through Virgo, she's not entirely thrilled there. She doesn't do well in a mercurial sign. And we've also seen Venus that has been in a square to Mars, so she's gotten a little roughed up, and she's approaching an opposition to Neptune. This is literally about some kind of health situation or news coming up about a woman. It could be in the world, like I'm wondering like if it's like a famous actress that's going to have like a health issue or something like that. We don't really find out about it maybe until the moon crosses over those degrees. But information coming to us about how we can better partner with other people, right? Sun, Mercury, cazimi in Libra. And that'll be taking place on the 22nd. Could bleed into the 23rd, but you just want to pay attention. Like the people you run into, the people you meet, the people you hear from, it can just be something that's very serendipitous that's kind of setting up that day, okay? Then obviously, you know, we have this same day, the fall equinox, at least here in the northern hemisphere, that is setting up. That's going to be at 6:03 p.m. Pacific time, so that's 9:03 Eastern. So if you're like, oh, I want to do something, you know, for the equinox, it's technically going to be taking place in the evening. So, you know, you can do something in the evening time. The fall equinox here in the northern hemisphere, you know, it's a time where we're focusing more on finding the balance, because that's what it is. Libra, the scales, the balance. This is about coming into balance, finding equilibrium. It's manifested as basically a period where the light and the dark are equal, right? And I've noticed part of what's been kind of going on, and I think we're going to really see this coming up into the equinox, is that for me personally, it's manifested as like a little bit of like a struggle between the light and the dark, you know? I don't know about you guys, like I don't get up early that often, but like in the last couple of weeks, there's been a couple mornings that I've gotten up much earlier and have gotten to like really watch like the sun come up, and like watching the sun come up and like watching it like really break and like consuming the sky, and like absorbing all of the darkness, right? And just like lighting everything up. That's what the equinox reminds me of, is just the struggle that we see every day between the light and the dark, and that it's almost like life and death, you know, because that's the themes of the light and the dark, that life and death is a part of the process. At least here in the Northern Hemisphere, we're going into fall. So some of the places that we actually see seasons change, you'll hear people say like, oh, the fall's really pretty, but it's kind of depressing because everything's getting ready to die. And we have come to know that that's just how life is. There's seasons. We see trees die. They end up, you know, going kind of dormant. They come back full bloom in the spring. But I think for us, it's harvest time also, and it's about reflecting on what's happened the rest of this year, reflecting on, you know, the goals that we've been setting, harvesting everything that we've been working hard to kind of bring in, and all the goals that we've set really since the spring of 2022. What's been growing quietly in the background, right? A lot of us don't harvest our own food anymore, but this would be the time where we're like, okay, you know, like, do we have everything that we need for the fall and also the winter? Because this is going to be what's going to carry us through. So we're going to start seeing the fruits of our labor. So you want to be looking at the intentions that you were setting back in April, May, June. This is what is going to be kind of coming to fruition over the next 3 months. And it also teaches us that, you know, growth and expansion are a part of the evolution. So when I think about like the sun coming up and like engulfing the sky, it's like, well, yeah, you know, in order for us to be able to grow and expand, we have to be able to kind of let the light in. But from here on out, we're actually going to see that there is going to be, you know, more darker kind of periods and darker kind of themes. So there is also like this side of like, wow, what are we losing? You know, we're losing the daylight, or we're losing the warmth, right? The temperatures are dropping. And it also just symbolically kind of reminds me of like life and death, and that there is like a really intricate balance in this. So I think a lot of us are going to be reflecting on how far we've come, and you know, what we're letting go of and what we're going to be releasing. If you're somebody who likes to look at the ingress charts for like an equinox or a solstice, you can look at that, and it's going to tell you a lot about what the next quarter of the year is going to look like. So if you're fresh to some of this stuff, you guys know the real astrological new year happens when the sun ingresses into Aries in the spring. That's going to happen in March every year. That is the start of the astrological new year. That is the sun going into that sign, and then we have a new moon in Aries. Then we're going to have the summer solstice in Cancer. Then we're going to have the fall equinox in Libra. Then we're going to have the winter solstice, which is Sabbath, in like December-ish, you know, towards the end of December. So these 0 degrees always mark the start of a new season, regardless of where you live. This is that energy now of us finding the balance within the Libra mansion and Libra 7th house, where we rise and meet other people, right? Think of like the end of the day, you go home, you put your stuff away, you sit down, you know, you hang out, you have dinner with your family, right? Very 7th house is where we meet others. Or we say, hey, do you want to meet and grab dinner? 7th house. So I think it's interesting that the equinox is kicked off with a Mercury cazimi. It's telling me that for the next 3 months, there is going to be a complete reevaluation of what our goals and really our desires are, or what our purpose, the sun is purpose, is in relationships, right? And we're going to learn a lot, be talking a lot about relationships, be talking a lot about fairness, law, balance. Also, Mercury, like I said, is the ruler of Virgo, and Venus is the ruler of Libra. So we're going to be talking about, well, what is and is not fair. Like, get ready for like a lot of battle of the sexes stuff out in the media. We're also going to hear a lot about, you know, laws changing, regulations changing, things in regards to health, beauty standards is kind of the vibe that I'm getting in regards to health and beauty. And also just a lot of people reworking, you know, relationship dynamics. Now, obviously, Venus is the ruler now that the sun is in Libra. So until the sun enters in Scorpio, we really want to see what's going on with Venus. Venus is behind the sun, so she's kind of in this hidden sector. You know, it's kind of like 12th house vibe. So it's behind a curtain, it's hidden away, it's in a secret place. So it might seem that when it comes to feminine energy, it's holding back, it's needing more rest, it's needing more time in churches, temples, healing centers, hospitals, and it's in opposition to Neptune. So I think there is this, basically this theme of us, you know, sometimes putting relationships on a pedestal. There can be a sense of us overly idealizing relationships really for the next couple of months. We want to be careful of that. When Venus is in opposition to Neptune, we can sometimes like see relationships through like rose-colored glasses. And Venus is in a sign that is about health. So I think that this is also saying, hold up, over the next 3 months, where there's going to be facts and information, Mercury, that is coming up for us to re-examine and look at in terms of our health and what our rights are to our health and information in regards to health. I also feel that because Mercury deals with facts and data, it's in a sign that's connected to the courts or judges or law. So we're about to hear a lot about how much access social media platforms are being allowed to have in terms of our personal information, you know, how much of our personal rights are being stripped potentially, or our privacy is being stripped potentially. And this is especially true because it's an out of sign trine. It's within about, you know, 4 or 5 degrees, but Mercury is still in a trine to Pluto in Capricorn. So I don't know if you guys are following some stuff that's going on with some of the courts right now, but that's a big conversation about, you know, whether or not there is going to be larger rollouts of determinations as to like what is and is not going to be censored. And I would encourage you guys to be learning more about this because not a lot of people are listening to what's going on because big decisions are being made right now. So it may take this 3 months for a lot of this information, I think, to kind of come to the surface because Mercury is retrograde. It's also all in opposition to Jupiter, right? And the dispositor is Mars. And we've got, you know, Venus and also Mercury eventually will retrograde back, still in a square to Mars. So it's a lot about what can you read on the internet, right? What are you watching on YouTube? What can you post on social media? So this is going to be an ongoing thing about you know, what is and is not truthful, you know, where there is false news out there, who's determining whether it's false news, how are we combating it, how many narratives out there. And you'll see as Mars goes retrograde in October and November that the narrative is changing. There's going to be lots of things that are going to be changing in terms of just the narrative on the internet in general. A couple other things. I like the fact that Mars is building into a trine with Saturn. We'll see that perfect as we get later in the week, but when we have like Mars's fixed determination, the willingness to, you know, plow through something, Mars in Gemini is not going to shut up. It's going to keep talking, communicating, sharing, wanting to, you know, reshare posts or wanting to, you know, get the neighborhood involved in a conversation. Mars in a trine to Saturn says that you're going to have some people or some situations that are just going to keep pushing to be getting some of these discussions on the table or to be bringing information to the masses because they want to hold certain individuals accountable. Because Mars is the one making the aspect to Saturn. So it's kind of challenging the narrative going, why did you do that? Why did you shut this down or lock that down or whatever, you know? So it does kind of say there is going to be more power of people kind of wanting to, you know, at least share information and sit down at the table and have conversations about stuff that's been going on recently. I can go on and on about this, but just know that, you know, to me, it seems still like an ongoing theme of really reevaluating what our role is. You know, how do we find the balance between being a pushover in the Libra area of our life and also, you know, not being proactive enough. You know, I guess that is kind of being a pushover, not being proactive enough and like standing up and standing up for our rights or being proactive and incentivizing other people to want to take action as well. The moon in Leo, a balsamic phase. So this does say it's closing something out. So we may also feel for the next 3 months we're kind of wrapping things up. That moon is still technically by sign in opposition to Saturn. So likely what we will feel in the 21st going into the 22nd is some kind of separation. So it can be a forewarning, kind of saying there is going to be more separation, there is going to be more division, limitations, or anything like that that may be going on really for the next 3 months. So keep in mind it's going to be playing out until about December of this year. All right, so let me take you guys now to the 23rd. Mercury drops back into Virgo. That's really the only thing that I've got going on this day. So if you guys saw my Mercury retrograde video, you know I've said several times Mercury will go in and out of these degrees. He's going to go all the way back down to 24. Mercury retrograde in Virgo at 29 makes me feel like there could be some critical information that is emerging. You will also see going into the next day that the moon in Virgo, balsamic, so it's hanging out right behind the sun. The moon in Virgo is coming into a conjunction with Venus and Mercury. This is probably the highlighted day for me for the whole week. So we've got the moon, which is a trigger. Moon's in opposition to Neptune, so we're not sure how to emotionally relate. We don't really know how to make sense of things. We want to, but we're feeling like a little bit separated. We're feeling a little sleepy, a little exhausted. The moon will be coming into conjunction with Venus, which is pretty sweet. It can bring opportunities for healing and love and relationships, but Venus is in her fall. And then the moon will also conjunct Mercury. So this is that day, you know, everybody like kind of sensationalizes Mercury retrograde, but the 24th is literally that day. That's like, if your ex is gonna call you and be like, I'm freaking out, like, can we talk, you know, like type of thing. It would probably be this day. Because Mercury is retrograding conjunct Venus, rethinking, reviewing relationships, feeling the pain of separation. The Mercury at 29 degrees is like now or never, and it's all gonna square Mars. I posted something on my Instagram today. I don't remember exactly what it said, but it was like, you know, anything that's meant for you is not going to feel like aggressive or rushed or like, you know, confusing. Like if something is for you, it's going to feel right. It's going to feel comfortable with ease. It's just going to show up. And so something I've been noticing with what's been going on with some of these planets that have been in Virgo in a square to Mars and in an opposition to Neptune is everything feels very fuzzy, very confusing, almost like you want to run and hide and you don't know how to emotionally connect, or it feels like in your face way too much and aggressive with the squares to Mars. And information can come fast and life can change in the blink of an eye, and it can really kind of send you into a spiral with the oppositions to Neptune or into an argument with the squares to Mars. So realize that not all phone calls are worth picking up this week. Not all conversations are worth having. You know, in some situations, the past is left better in the past. People always ask me, like, what does it mean? Is it meant to be if that person calls you and asks you if you can talk or see each other and get back together? Is it meant to be if they call you and say, hey, will you come back to work? You know, we should have never let you go. People change their mind during retrogrades, but likely if other people are reaching out to you, that's a sign that something is not wrapped up on their end. Now, you can take the bait and you can have the conversation if that's something that you want to do. I'm going to warn everybody that with Venus in opposition to Neptune, it's going to look or sound much better than what it really is. You want to be careful for, you know, financial scams. You want to be careful for people saying like, you know, I'm going to come through and then they ghost you. They don't get back to you. Like a lot is going to be a facade, as much as I hate to say that. And I would encourage you guys to really think twice before you want to pick up the call or if you want to kind of dance with the past, because likely it's not going to pan out the way that you think. We are still in the middle of a Mercury retrograde. We are also in the middle of now seeing Venus come into a square with Mars and an opposition to Neptune. And some people are just going to want to have that person that can hold their hand through a process of change. Or maybe they've, you know, you've had a falling out with someone, but they're like, well, but I really need you. And you're like, okay, things have changed. So just be careful with how much energy or attention you give to some of this stuff. Not the best day on the 24th, obviously, to be making any major changes either. in regards to your health, in regards to dietary stuff. Not a day to be like, you know, under the influence, because it can like really have an effect on some people. I'm anticipating extreme weather with these mutable squares. And this is a day that makes me feel like a lot of people are just going to be probably drinking pretty heavily, calling people from the past, you know, getting upset and leaving, you know, angry voicemails, or being like, you know, I'm coming over here, we're talking about it. And there's a lot of scandalous things going on in the skies with Mercury retrograde conjunct Venus, 12th house to the sun. People are not being faithful. You've got some people that are kind of screwing around. So it's in the air right now. Yeah, just be careful about, you know, what you guys want to partake in. Then we're going to see still, you know, Venus is going to be in that opposition all day, that it'll blend into the 25th. So the next day on the 25th, this will be the new moon in Libra, and that will be taking place at 2 degrees. I did a video on that. I don't know if you guys saw it, but if you haven't, I did a whole video talking about the importance of this moon. I think one thing that I may have left out that I'm now thinking about now is it's a new moon at 2 degrees. Mercury is still conjunct Venus, so she's still talking things over with Mercury and explaining to Mercury what she's not happy about or what she needs. A lot of this is playing out for us either in making physical health changes, or it's playing out for us like in a dream sense, or like through a crisis or a breakdown. We're kind of realizing what we really need, or like the relationships that we really should be holding space for. But Venus has yet to go into Libra. Mercury has yet to go direct. In a weird way, I feel like, yes, new moons are about setting intentions, but it's almost like you guys want to set intentions, and then there's going to be a period of like a week or so's working time. Like, I really feel like until both Mercury and Venus have crossed 2 degrees of Libra, we're not really going to figure out exactly how those new intentions are going to pan out. So if you're trying to find more balance in an area of your life, look for where Libra is in your chart. But it's going to take time for you to realize how you make that change and what needs to shift behind the scenes spiritually, energetically, what needs to be put to rest. 12th house to the sun is like literally like, you know, what we kind of close the door on or what we process in our dreams. So for some of us, like this closure that we're getting, we may be actually getting it more in like a dream sense, or in therapy, or like going and getting some healing work, or, you know, going and being out in nature and kind of neutralizing it and kind of sending it off to the ethers. I think the day before this new moon is wonderful for like banishing. Really, I mean, if you had to, you could do it Sunday morning, right before the new moon. So if you want to be doing, you know, cleaning your house, banishing, clearing, getting rid of that, you know, bad habit, like, you know, doing away and doing a cord cutting with like with an X, Sunday, the 25th in the morning is the day to do it. This is also a really great day to like get up, blast some tunes, clean your house, because not only is it a new moon, so we're clearing everything out, but it's all going to be in a trine to Pluto, which is really helping us clear this stuff out as well. And yeah, I think it's going to take a little bit more time for some of this stuff to kind of pan out. Healing the past with Moon with Venus and Mercury retrograde and Venus trine. Pluto also is setting up, so that's about some kind of cathartic something happening, healing, and detoxifying and kind of cleaning up our habits. And we are going to see, like I said, Mars slowly starting to come into a trine with Saturn. You're going to start feeling it on Sunday, but it's going to kind of be in the skies for a couple days. Mars is in shadow, so Mars will retrograde back to this point. And just to show you guys what I was talking about when I said it's probably going to take until both Mercury and Venus cross, I think 2 degrees of Libra, you're still working out how you're going to start this new beginning until Venus crosses 2 degrees, which will be October 1st, and then Mercury is going to cross 2 degrees, which will be October 12th. Ironically, we don't come out of shadow until about the 16th of October. So what if I told you guys that you're having this new moon on the 25th, but it's going to take you about 2 weeks to figure it out? Because I think that's what's going to happen. And I also feel that it's the setup for the full moon that's actually going to be coming. That's going to be in Aries. That'll be around October 9th. Now, if you guys take a look at this moon, this is kind of a preview, but I'll show it to you. we've got the moon in Aries conjunct Chiron in opposition to Venus and the sun. Venus and the sun, super sweet, but a full moon in Aries conjunct Chiron. Mars is the ruler. Mars is square Neptune. There is big changes happening where individuals are going to be saying, like, I've had enough, you know, this is what I need now, it's my turn. Or, you know, I need to start thinking about me, considering me. Give yourself 2 weeks working time until we're getting closer to mid-October to really redefine what it means to find balance in your life, to really be willing to shine a light in the dark and recalibrate some things in your life. Don't be afraid to talk to other people and ask for help. I think the Mercury in opposition to Jupiter is going to be all about that. I also really encourage you guys to show up and participate. I've been hearing from a lot of people who have been telling me that they're like, oh, I don't want relationships, it's too much, or I don't want to deal with the drama, or I don't want to have to answer to anybody. We're not all here to be in relationships, but I do feel like so much of what's going on right now with the oppositions between Libra and Aries is really showing we have a lot to learn from other people. And if we can be open to other people helping us and assisting us, whether that's a therapist or that's an astrologer or that's like a business partner or even a romantic partner, sometimes 2 can be better than 1. And we can learn a lot about ourselves through our relationships with other people in this next week. I'm excited to see what happens. You guys have to let me know. Obviously, you know, there's stuff happening, but it's not as active as it has been in this last week. So I think we're going to deal with it a little bit better. If you want to do something symbolically to kind of work with the equinox, because it's going to be in Libra, you can work with herbs associated with Venus, and you can also work with the element of air. I like lighting candles for the equinoxes and the solstices just to kind of represent that. I like putting out sometimes like the Justice card on my altar, or sometimes I'll, you know, put something symbolic of like scales or anything that's just kind of connected to Libra, and it's a masculine sign. I saw somebody's comment the other day. They were like, Libra's feminine. Libra is very beautiful and attractive, and it can be feminine, but in nature, you know, Libra is masculine, and it is the polar opposite of Aries. It's just Libra is active in initiating relationships. So keep in mind that this is very much, like I said in previous video, you know, like velvet glove, iron fist. Some of us have to make some difficult decisions in the next week, but in some ways, sometimes readjusting those scales and making the changes that are best for you has a chain reaction effect that sets other people up to also be more aware and more self-reliant and experience, I think, what they need to experience to learn how to really kind of stand up and you know, be an equal in some relationships. So hopefully you guys have a good experience with that. Just a couple things for this week. We're going to be doing a live astrology on Saturday night. So that's going to be taking place on the 24th, 7 o'clock p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. Eastern. I'll post the link early, so if you guys want to jump in, you want to get a mini reading, we're doing it by donation. You guys can sign up early and send me your information. Also, if you guys want to see more of my content, check out the Midheaven podcast that I have with myself and Mike the Peace Dealer. I put that out every Monday morning. You can go and check that out. We're always putting out new content about comedy and current events and just what's going on astrologically. And I want to let you guys know that I do have some openings between now and the end of the month, between now and the end of the year. I'm booking into November and December right now. So usually I'm booked out about, you know, a month and a half to 2 months at a time. For those of you guys who want to get a reading before the end of the year, I recommend clicking my link below. You can go to my website. I have full and half-hour sessions available. You're more than welcome to book a session with me. My sessions are a combination of Western astrology with tarot and also what I see clairvoyantly. I'm always happy to see new clients, and things are just booking up really fast because I'm going to be teaching classes, and I've got some more webinars that I'm going to be putting out for you guys in this next week or so, gearing up to start teaching more really for the end of this year into next year. And I'm doing some special webinars specifically on the eclipses, some live webinars that I'm going to be doing, talking to you guys about how it's very much connected to Mars and also to Venus. And it's going to be something a little bit different, kind of focusing on those planets and how it's going to affect the 12 signs. So stay tuned. I'll be putting that out soon. I hope you guys have a great week ahead. I'd love to hear from you. Leave your comments below. Otherwise, I'll see all of you very soon. Take care.